The one who stabs you in the back is rarely standing in front of you. They're standing beside you. Try to recall someone who once hurt you deeply, not a stranger on the street, not an acquaintance you met online, but someone you once trusted, someone you once shared secrets with, someone you once called best friend, colleague, or even family. They didn't scream in your face that they hated you. They didn't declare war. They didn't need to. Instead, they smiled. They asked how you were. They listened, and they waited. Waited for the moment you were vulnerable. Waited for the moment you let your guard down. Waited until they had everything they needed to make you collapse. And you had no idea you'd been watched all along. That is the real danger. These days, we spend so much time fearing threats from the outside. Theft, scams, hackers, dangerous strangers. But very few people realize that the ones who can completely destroy you are the ones who know you best. No knife needed, no force required. All they need is information, the kind you gave them yourself, through conversations that seemed harmless, through dinners filled with laughter, through moments of weakness when you thought, this person would never hurt me. That is the biggest mistake. And if you don't recognize that mistake in time, it can cost you your career, your reputation, your relationships, your finances, even your mental health. But hold on a moment. I'm not saying you should live in fear. I'm not asking you to be suspicious of everyone or to see plots everywhere you look. No, I'm talking about awareness. I'm talking about clarity. I'm talking about not walking blindly through a world where a gentle face is no longer a guarantee of safety. There's a very thin line between being cautious and being paranoid, but there's also a clear difference between selective trust and blind trust. Stoic philosophy doesn't teach us to fear. It teaches us to face the truth without flinching. Marcus Aurelius, the great philosopher emperor, once wrote, "If you are betrayed, know that it is something entirely possible, and the only thing you need to control is how you respond to it." We can't control the hearts of others, but we can control the way we see. And if you're hearing these words right now, ask yourself, are you sure the people around you truly want the best for you? Or are they just waiting for the perfect moment to destroy everything you've worked so hard to build? Don't be careless. The most dangerous people never knock on your door. They don't announce their arrival. They come in through the door you open, trust. And once they're inside, they don't need to break down your gates. They just slowly pull out the foundation, while you still believe they're helping you build the house. So in today's video, I'm going to show you 5 critical signs to help you recognize when someone isn't just disliking you. They're quietly planning your downfall. These signs aren't easy to spot, and that's exactly why they're dangerous. But if you learn to recognize them, you'll protect the most valuable things you have: your trust, your peace, and yourself. But before we move on, you need to understand this. Self-defense doesn't come from fear. It comes from awareness. Your greatest enemy is not the one who hates you openly. It's the one waiting for you to fall, with a smile on their face and concern in their eyes. And now, if you're ready, let's begin. Sign 1, the one who hides in plain sight, and the shadow tracker. There are people who don't need to come close to harm you. They don't need to speak. They don't need to intervene directly. All they do is observe. They exist in your life like part of the background, like a shadow, silent, unnoticeable, but always there. And then one day you suddenly realize they know where you like to get your morning coffee. They know where you went yesterday, who you met, what you talked about. They know things you never shared. How do they know? You don't remember ever saying it. You don't think you told that story. You didn't even notice they were listening. This isn't curiosity, it's strategy. The shadow tracker isn't just nosy. They collect information systematically, purposefully, not for amusement, but to build a detailed map of you, who you are, where you go, what you do, and where you're vulnerable. What makes them dangerous isn't a bold move. It's their relentless patience. They don't strike right away. They wait. You don't post your schedule, but they still know. You think you're careful. You don't tag locations. You don't overshare. But you forgot one thing your friends do. They tag you in a morning coffee outing. They post stories while you're having dinner together. They comment on an old post, bringing up habits you thought were long gone. Each tiny piece fits into a puzzle, the complete picture of your life. They don't need to hack your phone. All they need to do is watch. And just like that, they quietly piece everything together, like a ruthless puzzle master. Real life example, a coincidence or something else? Eric is a young designer working at a creative media company. She lives a fairly private life, doesn't post much on social media, and keeps her personal and work life separate. Yet a coworker named Victor, not particularly close, rarely talked to her, always seemed to know what she was up to. One time, Eric visited a newly opened cafe that only her best friend had recommended via a private message. The next day, Victor casually mentioned, "Hey, heard Star's coffee shop was pretty packed yesterday. Their coffee's good, but pricey." She was stunned. She hadn't posted anything. Her friend hadn't either. But Victor knew. At first, she chalked it up to coincidence. But then it happened again. And again. He showed up at her gym the day she signed up. He knew her dog's name, even though she never brought it to the office. He mentioned an old high school friend, someone she'd never brought up at work. Eric started to feel unnerved, like she was being watched, not by cameras, but by someone who paid deliberate, focused attention while pretending to be harmless. This isn't rare. This is a sign. The shadow tracker doesn't reveal themselves. They stay hidden. They don't invade you right away. They observe, analyze, and wait for the moment you're most vulnerable. Because when someone openly hates you, at least you can prepare. But when you don't even know you're being watched, you have nothing to defend with. How do you spot them? A person who doesn't ask much, but knows too much, is always worth watching. Here are key red flags to look for. They often just happen to be around, at places you frequent, even though you've never invited them. They call it coincidence, fate, serendipity. But no one shows up by chance that many times. They know too much about you without being close. They mention preferences, habits, or relationships you have never shared. You feel uncomfortable and confused that they're aware of private things. They ask indirect questions. They don't pry directly, but steer conversations in ways that make you reveal personal details. Then they store that info, not out of care, but for use when needed. You feel unsettled and can't explain why. This is the most important one. Human intuition is powerful. If something feels off about someone, don't ignore it. So what should you do if you suspect something? This is where Stoic philosophy becomes your shield. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens that disturbs us, but how we respond to it." You can't stop people from watching you, but you can control how much they can see. Here's how. Take control of your digital space. Limit personal sharing on social media, especially real-time stories. Use privacy settings for close friends. Avoid posting schedules, locations, or details about new relationships. Proactively change routines. If someone keeps showing up by chance, change your routes or timing. They can't follow patterns if you're unpredictable. Keep track of odd patterns. Note situations that raise red flags. If appropriate, ask them about it in a calm, indirect way and observe their reaction. Don't let fear control you, but don't ignore your instincts. The presence of a tracker can feel paralyzing, but you are not powerless. You still control your information. You still control your life. And most importantly, you control your awareness. Conclusion for sign number 1. An enemy doesn't always carry a weapon. Sometimes all they hold is a phone, a glance at your story, and a disturbingly good memory. Don't wait until you become prey to start recognizing the hunter. Stay alert, let calmness be your armor, and let knowledge be your weapon. Because in a world where everything can be tracked, discretion isn't paranoia, it's wisdom. Sign 2, the blade in the dark, the whisper knife. Not everyone stabs you with a steel blade. Some do it with whispers, soft, silent, leaving no trace. They don't need to shout to cause harm. All they have to do is drop a few words to the right person at the right time. Then step back, arms folded, and watch your world slowly collapse. That's how the whisper knife operates. The backstabber doesn't need to attack. They only need to plant doubt. You don't lose friends in a day. You don't lose your coworkers' trust in a single meeting. You're not excluded from conversations just because of one moment of silence. It happens gradually. Each glance that avoids yours, each polite, empty reply, each nod without eye contact. And one day, you look around and no one is standing with you. But the scariest part, you don't know why. This kind of sabotage doesn't look like an attack. It feels more like erosion. They don't incite rebellion. They don't accuse you outright. They bend the truth. Just enough that it's no longer truth, but not quite a lie either. A story retold, incompletely. A comment, accidentally overheard. A misinterpretation. I thought that's what they meant. And suddenly suspicion spreads, like oil across water. Real life example. Everything grows colder, but no one says a word. And Adam was a competent project manager, respected by his superiors, trusted by his team, and always included in key decisions. But something began to shift. He was no longer invited to important meetings. Group chats went unanswered. Inside jokes now excluded him. Adam felt isolated. Even though no one treated him overtly badly, he started questioning himself. Did I do something wrong? Did I accidentally offend someone? Am I just overthinking it? Then one day at lunch, a trusted colleague slipped up. We just thought you wanted to control everything, so we stopped sharing. Adam was stunned. He had never said that, but someone else had, twisting his intentions just enough to seem believable, yet vague enough to deny if confronted. When he tried to clarify, others brushed it off. Oh, it's probably just a misunderstanding. No one really said anything. But the damage had already been done. Reputation, the most valuable currency in the workplace, wasn't shattered by a single blow, but worn away through countless quiet cracks. This is the signature move of the whisper knife. They don't need an explosion, just a suggestion, just a seed of doubt, and then your environment does the rest. No one wants to be seen as the troublemaker, so people avoid you, not because they believe the worst about you, but because they don't want to take the risk if it turns out to be true. They don't hate you, they just avoid you because something feels off. And the scariest thing is you don't even know what's happening. Signs you might be a victim of the whisper knife. No one attacks you, but everyone drifts away. The isolation is subtle. You're not pushed out. You're simply not included anymore. Former allies now seem hesitant. They still greet you, still smile, but something in their eyes has changed. Conversations stop when you walk by. Ask them what's wrong and they say, oh, nothing. You feel like people are talking about you, but can't prove it. You never hear anything directly, but you sense it, a strange atmosphere, invisible tension. You start doubting yourself. This is the most dangerous part. You begin thinking, maybe I really did act wrong. Maybe I'm just being too sensitive. Maybe it's better if I stay quiet. How to protect yourself, not with retaliation, but recognition. Stoicism doesn't teach revenge. It teaches you to stand firm, even when you're being misrepresented. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them knows the truth." So you don't have to chase down every rumor. You just have to live with such clarity that no one can believe lies about you. Here's how. Audit your relationships. Ask yourself, who really knows me? Who only knows what they've heard about me? Have private conversations with people you trust. Check if anything is being misunderstood. Be clear in your communication. Don't let tensions simmer in silence. Even if it feels unnecessary, explain your intentions clearly. Track strange patterns. You don't need evidence to stay aware. You just need enough observation to know when things started changing and from where. Don't be a passive character in your own story. Others may talk about you, that's their right. But you control how you live, and your actions can silence falsehoods better than words ever could. Conclusion for sign number 2. Some blades don't draw blood, but they can bleed you of your honor. The whisper knife won't scream, they won't accuse. They'll simply breathe an unfinished story into someone's ear, then step back and wait for you to fall. That's why you don't need to speak louder than them. You just need to live truer. Because in a world where rumors travel faster than truth, consistency of character is the one thing that can't be distorted. Sign 3, the camouflaged ally, the friendly saboteur. There is a kind of enemy you never suspect, not because they're too good at hiding, but because you were the one who opened the door wide and let them in. They approach you with a smile. They call you friend, brother, soulmate. They say exactly what you want to hear. They stand by your side, warm, eager, attentive. And then one day when everything falls apart, you look for the cause and see nothing but a smiling shadow. Not a stranger, but the one who once felt closest to you. The most dangerous enemy isn't the one who confronts you. It's the one who hugs you tightly, with a knife hidden behind their back. The friendly saboteur doesn't act out of open hatred. They don't attack from afar. They get close, they win your trust, listen carefully, gain your confidence, just so they can use it when your guard is down. No one hands a knife to an enemy, but we all hand over secrets to those we trust. And that's why the smartest enemy will always play the role of the friend who understands you best. They don't rush, but they are deliberate. Within a few weeks of knowing you, they're already telling you stories they only share with those they truly trust. They talk about past pain, dreams, betrayals. They make you feel special, like you're the only one who gets them. But take note, you don't know much about their past. You've never seen them face real challenges. You only hear them talk about helping you, not actually see them do it. And then you start opening up. You reveal your fears, share your plans, hand over the blueprint to your life, because you believe they're the only one who truly understands. But they don't need to understand. They just need to collect. Real life example, a friend too perfect until it's too late. Diana is a young founder building her own fashion brand. She's cautious about relationships until she meets Nancy, a mutual acquaintance introduced as Demish, also starting her own business. Nancy is charming, empathetic, always showing up when Diana needs help. She listens to Diana's concerns, gives advice, connects her to industry contacts, even helps edit Diana's investor pitch deck. Within 2 months, they're close. They go out together, meet partners, share both failures and dreams. Diana begins to see Nancy as a like-minded sister. But then, a week before a major investor presentation, Diana discovers something strange. Her exclusive design idea, only ever mentioned privately to Nancy, has just been launched by another startup. That startup, silently co-founded and backed by Nancy from the beginning. When confronted, Nancy coldly replies, "I thought you weren't sure about using that design. And this was a good opportunity. It's just business." The friendly saboteur doesn't apologize. They shrug. They don't feel guilty because they never saw you as a real friend. You were just a data source, an information gateway, a tool. And once you are no longer useful, or worse in the way, they won't hesitate to push you aside. How to spot a friendly saboteur? They rush into closeness. They fast-track the relationship. After just a few meetings, they claim to have shared everything, making you feel pressured to reciprocate. They probe into sensitive, private areas. They don't just ask what you like. They ask, what keeps you up at night? What's your greatest weakness? They call it deep connection, but it's actually strategic extraction. They build trust with words, not actions. They constantly emphasize loyalty, friendship, fighting through hardship together. But when it's time to act, they're always busy, have a reason, or disappear. They have nothing to lose by betraying you. You realize they're not really close to anyone. No strong ties, no visible community, no shared history. They know how to disappear without consequences. How to protect yourself. Don't let loneliness make you an easy target for fake affection. Seneca once said, "A true friend is someone who helps you become better without needing fancy words." No one's saying you shouldn't open up, but let time prove whether the relationship is real. Here are the key principles to defend yourself. Watch actions, not just listen to words. If someone says, "I'm always here for you," but vanishes during tough times, that's a red flag. On the other hand, someone who makes no promises but shows up when it matters, that's someone to keep. Slow down and let relationships develop naturally. A real bond doesn't need to move at lightning speed. Someone who wants the best for you won't pressure you to tell everything. Hold back your core until you're sure. No one needs to know all your secrets to be a good friend. Don't share things you're not prepared to lose if betrayed. Test through adversity. If you want to know who's truly a friend, watch how they act when you're no longer in a strong position. A friendly saboteur disappears when you lose your advantage. The one who stays without needing a reason. Not everyone who walks into your life with a smile wants to see you happy. Some smile just to get inside. The deeper, the better. Because they don't need to scale your walls or steal your keys. They only need you to open the door yourself. And then they'll quietly start dismantling the foundation. You can't prevent all betrayals, but you can lower the risk by living more slowly, observing more clearly, and trusting through time, not emotion. Sign 4, the quiet escalator, the silent climber. Not every threat arrives with a blow. Not every dangerous person shouts in your face. Sometimes the most frightening individual starts with the smallest things, seemingly harmless, and quietly pushes boundaries further, little by little. You don't notice it because you knew them when they were normal, until everything has gone too far. And when you finally look back, you realize the signs were always there. You just ignored them. Escalation is a process, not a moment. The quiet escalator doesn't burst into your life with extreme actions. They test the waters. First, it's a crude joke. You laugh it off. Next, it's an accidental touch that makes you uncomfortable. You let it slide. Then comes a heavier comment, still wrapped in humor. You're unsure how to respond. And just like that, they learn one thing. You don't set boundaries. It starts small, then goes further. That's how violating behavior becomes normalized. Not because it's harmless, but because you and those around you, them, become used to it. Like water gradually being heated to a boil. No one jumps out while it's still warm, but by the time it's boiling, it's too late to escape. Real life example, danger that quietly accumulates. Tommy is a quiet IT employee at a software company. He's reserved, keeps to himself, doesn't cause trouble. It began at a company party. He made a joke to a female colleague, inappropriate, but brushed off with awkward laughs. Soon after, he began making regular, passive-aggressive comments. Some were sarcastic, others borderline offensive, but always followed by, "just joking." No one thought much of it. Then he started showing up in places that colleague frequented, sent strange messages at night. One day he was caught having installed a tracking device on her car. Everyone was shocked. How did this happen? He seemed so harmless. But looking back, the warning signs were always there. Each small act was dismissed. Each line crossed became a new normal, until it turned dangerous. The quiet escalator doesn't lose control. They wait for you to lose awareness. They test your boundaries daily. A joke laced with violence, a toxic remark delivered with a soft tone, a personal space violation dismissed as accidental. And if you don't react, they understand. They can go further. Your silence is taken as permission. Sign someone is quietly escalating behavior. They joke, but it leaves you hurt or uneasy. When you say it wasn't funny, they reply, "You're too sensitive." This is emotional gaslighting. making you doubt your own feelings. They repeatedly accidentally invade your personal space, standing too close, repeated touching, appearing in your private spaces uninvited. They call it coincidence, but the frequency says otherwise. They mask threats with playful tones. What if someone deleted your important files, huh? Know your whole schedule. Where could you even hide? This isn't humor. This is testing your response. They normalize inappropriate behavior as the usual. When confronted, they say, "We've always done it this way. What's the problem now?" They normalize the wrong by making it routine. How to protect yourself. Boundaries aren't coldness. They're what keep you safe. Epictetus once wrote, "No one can offend you unless you let them cross the threshold of your limits." You can't stop people from trying to test you, but you can stop them from succeeding by setting clear boundaries from the very beginning. Here's how. Respond clearly the first time. If something feels off, say so. You don't need to shout, but be firm. "That's not funny to me. That makes me uncomfortable. Please don't do it again." Track repeated behaviors. One incident might be accidental. Repetition is not. Take notes, especially in professional or academic settings. Establish boundaries through action. Don't respond to after-hours messages from someone who unsettles you. Don't allow them into your personal spaces. Don't keep up politeness if it costs your sense of safety. Talk to someone you trust when escalation occurs. Don't keep it to yourself. A trusted friend or colleague can offer an outside perspective and support. Not all attacks begin with a strike. Some begin with a joke, a harmless touch, a moment of sitting just a bit too close. And when no one reacts, they go just a bit further until the lines disappear completely. The quiet escalator isn't out of control. They are calculated, patient, and waiting for you to soften your own boundaries. So don't be afraid to draw the line. Real respect only exists where boundaries are clear, and anyone who tries to cross those lines should never be allowed inside your safe zone. Sign 5, the strategic infiltrator, the quiet architect of your collapse. Loud enemies are easy to spot. Hot-headed rivals are easy to defend against. But there's one type of enemy who doesn't shout, doesn't threaten, doesn't rush to attack. They wait. They stay low profile. They move slowly. They never seem competitive. In fact, you probably think they're the safest person in your inner circle. But behind the scenes, day by day, they're quietly building a strategy. They are the strategic infiltrator, and they don't want to bring you down fast. They want to make sure that when you fall, you can't ever get back up. A saboteur's greatest weapon is patience. They observe, they remember, they ask questions deeper than necessary, but with just enough finesse that it feels like genuine care. They don't express hate. They show no envy, no open disagreement. They build trust first, then quietly dismantle it like a seasoned bomb diffuser. Real-life example, a 2-year takedown plan. Linda is the founder of a natural cosmetics brand. While growing her startup, she met Ben, an experienced man in the industry, previously an advisor to many companies. Ben offered help, sincere and thoughtful. He gave feedback on her strategies, helped her contact major distributors, silently supported her during a PR crisis. He never asked for fame, equity, or recognition. Just one thing: "I just want to see you succeed." Linda began seeing him as a trusted older brother. She shared everything: financial plans, growth strategies, weaknesses in the team, even personal issues. Until one morning, she discovered a new company had launched a nearly identical product line. Same model, same target market, same marketing strategy. The founder? Ben. He had registered the company 6 months earlier, never mentioned a word, and struck just as Linda had invested heavily in expansion, delivering the perfect blow. A strategic infiltrator never acts randomly. They don't just want to compete. They want to take everything you've built. Their danger doesn't lie in how smart they are. It lies in how deep you let them into your world. The strategic infiltrator doesn't show up to hurt you. They show up to replace you. You'll notice they Always listen, always agree. They never push back, never argue, never offer opposing views, because they want you to keep talking. Frequently ask about your future plans. What's next for you? Got any new products in the pipeline? Thinking about going international yet? But they rarely, if ever, share their own plans. Offer help, but avoid formal commitments. They avoid paperwork, no official roles, no signatures on contracts, because when the time comes to strike, they want to vanish without a trace. How to identify a strategic infiltrator? They focus on exploitable areas. Your personal finances, weak links in your team, unstable partnerships, unreleased projects. They don't just listen, they log everything. They play the long game. You've known them for 6 months, a year, even 2. They never ask for anything. Because they don't need to, they're just waiting for your guard to drop. They never make the final move themselves. They let coincidence do the job. And when it all unravels, there's no clear evidence. Just that sinking realization. I handed everything to the person who destroyed me. How to defend yourself. Don't mistake silence for safety. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Your soul takes on the color of what you trust most." So be cautious about who you allow to get too close, too quickly. Here are your key principles to protect yourself. Never reveal everything without time as a filter. No matter how helpful someone seems, you don't need to tell them everything. Share in parts and observe their reactions. Don't confuse knowing someone for a long time with knowing them well. You can know someone for 5 years and still not truly understand them. Time alone doesn't build trust. Consistent behavior does. Don't assume lack of conflict means loyalty. Someone who always agrees with you might not be supportive. They might just be collecting more data. Always keep a backup room for yourself. Whether in business, friendships, or investments, always keep key strategic info to yourself. You don't have to be completely secretive. But make sure there's always a part of your plan that only you understand fully. Not every saboteur strikes quickly. Some know that to destroy you most effectively, they first have to convince you they're the only person you can trust. They don't deceive you with lies. They deceive you with time, patience, calculated kindness, and the image of a selfless companion. But never forget, not everyone who stays the longest is the most loyal. Some stay just long enough to learn exactly where you'll break first. Stay sharp. And remember, true defense doesn't come from suspicion. It comes from knowing who truly deserves to know everything about you. Conclusion. When a smile is no longer a sign of safety, we grow up being taught that smiles are signs of goodwill. Smiles mean friendship. Smiles make people seem more approachable. But the harsh truth is, not everyone who smiles at you wants you to be happy. Some smiles aren't meant to welcome, but to distract, to lower your guard, to make you open up, to have you dismantle your own defenses piece by piece. The world isn't just filled with obvious enemies. There is a more dangerous layer. Those who call your name gently while quietly plotting to dismantle you one step at a time. And the greatest tragedy of many victims isn't what the villain did, but their own lack of awareness. The delay in realizing something is wrong. The dismissal of inner discomfort because nothing is clearly wrong. The tendency to ignore small signs because maybe I'm just overthinking it. Awareness, not fear, is what will save you. You don't need to be suspicious of everyone. You don't need to shut yourself off in a cage of doubt. But you do need to look closer, listen deeper, and feel more attentively. Because schemers don't arrive with axes. They come cloaked in false empathy, conditional kindness, and perfectly timed appearances. And if you're not fully aware, you may be manipulated by the very person you thought was helping you. Stoicism doesn't tell you to live in anxiety. It teaches you to live with intention. Stoic philosophy isn't about withdrawing from life. It isn't about merely enduring bad people. It's the art of mastering your response, no matter how the world treats you. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it's outside your mind, it cannot harm you unless you allow it." That doesn't mean ignoring danger, quite the opposite. It means facing it head on, observing without bias, and acting without fear. You don't panic when someone acts strange. You notice. You don't freak out when someone knows too much. You set limits. You don't react emotionally. You respond from principle. Clarity is a skill and your greatest weapon in a chaotic world. We live in an age where everything is connected and easily manipulated, where someone can track you just by watching a few stories, where someone who smiles at you today could be planning to take your place tomorrow, where betrayal doesn't always come from an enemy, but often from a friend. In a world like this, peace doesn't come from believing everyone is good, but from knowing exactly who deserves to stay close and who should remain at the door. Let's recall the 5 warning signs you've just learned. 1. The shadow tracker, the one who knows too much, always in the background. 2. The whisper knife, the one who destroys you through subtle, corrosive rumors. 3. The friendly saboteur, the one who wins your trust only to use it against you. 4. The quiet escalator, the one who tests and slowly invades your boundaries. 5. The strategic infiltrator, the one who waits for the perfect moment to strike. None of these signs are obvious at first. No one slams the table and screams, "I'm going to ruin you." But they all share the same traits: patience, calculation, and attacks that come when your guard is down. Be someone who cannot be easily manipulated. You don't have to become cold or emotionless. You can still be kind, you can still open up. But remember, every time you share, you're giving someone power. And that power must only go to those who've earned it, through time and trial, not just because they seem trustworthy. Caution doesn't make you lonely, it makes you stable. Those who are truly worth keeping in your life won't fear your slow trust. They won't rush you. They won't demand to know your secrets in the first month. They'll let you open up at your own pace, but anyone who pushes too fast or digs too deep always has a reason. And finally, Baramal, let your actions be your strongest shield. Epictetus once taught, don't rush to defend yourself against slander. Live in a way that no one believes it. You can't control rumors. You can't stop someone from pretending to be a friend. But you can live with such integrity that their falsehoods simply won't stick. Final summary. Don't mistake friendliness for safety. Don't confuse time known with trust earned. Don't let a smile be mistaken for a promise. There are good people in this world, many of them, but there are also people who come into your life to take, to sabotage, or to replace everything you've worked hard to build. The line between those two types of people lies in your awareness, and awareness is something you can train. If what you read today gave you chills, that's a good sign. It means you're starting to see more clearly. And once you see yipad, you can't unsee. From now on, observe objectively, respond calmly, trust selectively, and live with sharp awareness, yet full humanity. Because in a world full of schemes, you must be the gatekeeper of your own life. If what you've just heard made you see life with more clarity, if your heart feels steadier and your eyes more open, if you now understand that peace doesn't come from avoiding danger, but from spotting it early, then you are on the right path. You are walking the path of awareness. You are walking the path of a true Stoic. You are walking the true Stoic way. Here are 3 simple actions that can transform the way you face the world. 1. Follow the True Stoic Way channel, because this isn't just a place to hear big ideas. It's where you learn to use them to protect yourself daily. 2. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. You never know, a friend or loved one may already be under watch, manipulation, or approaching betrayal. One video, one warning, one wake-up call can save their career, their reputation, or their peace. 3. Comment below with the phrase, "I see more clearly now." That's how you affirm to yourself that you've stepped out of the blind spot and into awareness. True Stoic way is not an easy path. It asks you to face the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. It demands that you stand firm, even when everything around you shakes. But if you keep walking with us, you won't just learn how to avoid harm, you'll learn how to become unshakable. This is the true Stoic way, and you're ready to continue. We'll meet again in the next video. Hold your reason, stand like stone, and never forget, calmness is the highest form of strength.